Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it. This has been a very helpful hearing, and I want to echo some of the comments I've heard from some of my colleagues in that we are taking a comprehensive look at the tax code because most folks agree that it's a mess and it's counterproductive. And if we are going to encourage economic growth and job creation, the tax code right now, in my view, is a barrier to that. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing it for the sake of it because we don't have anything else to do. We're doing it because it's helpful to this country to fix this tax code. On the way back from Afghanistan about a year and a half ago, I was able to while the pilots were resting, we stopped in Estonia. And we met with the former prime minister, who's now the defense minister, and he was telling us about his tax system. They said they pay in Estonia, they pay their income tax online in about 15 minutes. The average Estonian takes 15 minutes to pay their tax. Now, I'm not promoting their particular way of taxation, but the point is that we can do much, much better. Whatever that looks like, we can do much, much better. And, we certainly can do as well as the beautiful country of Estonia. And I would say that the best thing for working families in Arkansas that I represent or wherever, the best thing for them is a growing economy and remaining competitive internationally. So that's why we're doing this. And to address the mortgage interest deduction, I would like to say that I think it's been well said by many others here today that you can talk about, the high-income folks that take advantage of it or whatever, but at its core, this benefits middle-class working Americans. A lot of count count on this provision. And I think the statistics show, whether you're looking at the percentage that are under $200,000 in income or $100,000. But one thing that I wanted to explore a little bit, Mr. Calabria, if you could talk a little bit about your comment earlier where you said, I think it was you said that the mortgage interest deduction incents more higher debt, not equity, not ownership. And if you could talk a little bit about that and your proposal to address that.
Sure, and let me start out by saying, my proposal, I want to try to keep those families held harmless after tax, so they're not seeing their tax increase, but what we are doing is allowing them to prioritize because, I think housing is important, but I think education is important, I think healthcare, I think food is important, but I don't think what the direction to go is here in Washington, we decide what people should consume, where they put their marginal dollar. I think they're smart enough to figure that out for themselves, quite frankly. So the thing is to reduce these tax connections to various consumption items and let people make those decisions for themselves while keeping their taxes low. So my point being is I think we can tie that in that way that you're leaving these families the same after tax, in very much the same way.
You would acknowledge, would you not, that some of the proposals for a credit instead of a deduction, if you left the tax rate the same, would really hit a lot of the folks that take advantage of the deduction if you left the marginal rates the same?
It would, and so I do think
because it would be far less than the deduction.
And I agree that the objective here one of the objectives should be to try to lower marginal rates because ultimately at the end of the day, what we should be trying to achieve is growing household income and reducing the taxation of income because income is what makes everything else in the world possible. So, you could have all the mortgage interest deduction you want in the world. If the family doesn't have the income to afford the house to begin with, it doesn't matter. So again, growing income should be our primary objective here, in my opinion. And I think a flat, low rate like they have in Estonia should actually be something that we try to achieve and try to reduce some of the complexity in the tax system while reducing the penalty to work.
So I think, is it fair to say that a lot of the reforms that you propose would depend upon that lower tax rate. It would not be to the code as it currently is constituted.
And if you could answer briefly.
Yes or no? I think it's important to reduce leverage even if we don't reduce overall tax rates, but I do think reducing tax rates should be part of that.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Renace's